Micah Powell is an incredible songwriter who's penned hits for Omarion, like Post to Be, featuring Chris Brown and Jhene Aiko. He's penned hits like It Won't Stop by Sevyn Streeter. Micah absolutely loves adventure. I can't get enough of watching him on Instagram, biking all over Los Angeles. So from the music to the life stuff, I'm positive you're going to catch some gems from Micah Powell.
I am originally from the Inland Empire, a city called Rialto, to be exact. My first love, I wanted to be a ball player. I always had the gift of like music and knew how to sing a little bit, but I was like, nah, I want to be fucking MJ. Okay, I grew up listening to a lot of gospel, but I really didn't like gospel music like that. I really only liked like this group called Commission. They're like the greatest group ever. They're a gospel group. Greatest singers, greatest voices you'll ever hear in life, hands down. We listen to a lot of whinings, a lot of like BB and CC, Yolanda Adams, Kirk Franklin. But to be honest, man, Fred Hammond and Commission they're my go-to still to this day. And then on like the urban side, like my mom, the R&B side, my mom would listen to everything. She had us listen to everything from like SWV to Boyz II Men to, Jodeci, all the real R&B in the 90s. I really came up early as a kid listening to a lot of Boyz II Men. I used to sing that to girls on the phone on the daily. I used to sing that. I used to sing who else, man? I love Jay-Z. When I was like, I went through a period in my life when I was like maybe 13, when like fucking Reasonable Doubt came out around like 11, 12. And Jay-Z was like the first real rapper. Jay-Z and The Brat. The Brat I listened to when I was a kid. I loved The Brat. I got in trouble for listening to her. My dad took the cassette from me because I was wearing it out, and he didn't know I was listening to that. We couldn't listen to none of that in my house. So my dad, even though he's a preacher, so he wasn't having none of that. But yeah, I would say early on, man, Jay-Z was a big influence in my career. I tried to be a rapper when I was like 13. It was funny. My very first job. Shit, man, we worked. Oh man, this shit was terrible. My dad had us in the summer. The last summer I lived with my dad. We worked for these ladies that went to my church. They had like a postal parcel service. So we worked with them packaging people's mail and shit and shrink wrapping. And it was like some real factory shit. It was hot as fuck in there. It was the most terrible first job you could ever have. Made me never want to work again in my life. I started pursuing a music career seriously when I was like 17 in high school. I kind of got thrust into it. My mom was in the business. She worked for LaFace Records. She worked for Arista. She just was in the business. She worked for like Pete Farmer at Arista and Ellie Reed. And she kind of wanted to like put us in a boy group. I remember like me and my cousin, it was always me and my cousin Dave. We auditioned for when Third Story was looking for another member. We auditioned for them. Third Story, they're my boys to this day. But we didn't make their group. So my mom was just trying to put us in another group, just start another group with us. And like, I didn't really want to do music. I didn't know what I wanted to do. I know that I love music, but I just never had dreams of like, I never thought that I'd be like an actual artist or nothing like that. And then, getting into it, my mom getting me into it, bringing me around labels and like, shit, man, I used to go to Hamilton High School. My mom worked up the street at BMG in Beverly Hills. We used to like ditch school and go My mom would be cool with it too. We just did school. My cousin had the car. We would take girls up to the BMG office and fucking we would get them product. My mom would just give them like CDs, and back when CDs was getting printed up, CDs are like Pink, Usher, all the LaFace artists, where they would get posters, all this crazy shit. We was like the man at school, you know. But that was like my introduction into music, and then I got into a R&B group. A friend of mine, mutual friend of mine, actually introduced me and my cousin to these other two guys that were in a group. It's like a really long story, but just short. Just introduced us um, to these other guys, and we kind of just like sang for each other, kind of connected, and from there on, we just formed a whole another group, and I was like actually an official R&B nigga then. You know what I'm saying? Like officially an R&B nigga because I was in a group, and you cannot live in LA and do music and not have been in a group. At one point or another, you had to be in a group. I think it's just a rite of passage, you know? My favorite song that I worked on probably would, just as far as all encompassing from the process to the success of the record, from the inception of the record to the process to the success of it, would probably be number one would probably be It Won't Stop. Just because of how that song just flowed out, and sonically how it just came about, how I wasn't even supposed to be at that session. I got called to that session by Ty Dolla $ign to come work with Sevyn, and he ended up, we did a different song the first day. He ended up not showing up the second day, and me and Sevyn just went in, and that was kind of like the birth and the beginning of our chemistry. That was the first song we ever wrote together, just me and her, and it came together so right. Everything about that song is just a vibe, and that was like, I would say that song, and just the success it had and what it did for me, that'll always be, you know, top. And I would say probably after that, a song called July that I did. It's on multiple mixtapes. It was on Jhené's Sold Out, no, Selling Soul, one of them. The first mixtape, it was on, it was supposed, the story of that record is just crazy in itself. It was on Bei Major's mixtape. It was Drake's record. So it's a song called July, Drake featuring Jhene Aiko. And this song I wrote, which I wrote the song. This was before Jhene was really writing like that. I wrote the song for Jhene. It was me and Jhene in the studio. Bei Major did the beat. My boy Diesel, shout out to Diesel. He was managing Jhene at the time. He kind of put it together, the session together, and so wrote the song. And what it was talking about, the seasons changing as it relates, correlating that to relationship. It was just, that's the first thing I love about that record, is just how real it is about how relationships go through seasons. And, you know, in that particular relationship, it was a summer. It started off as a summer, and then it turned into fall. You know what I mean? And oh man, just I don't know. There was a spirit flowing through that record, and so what happened was the record was done. My bro Jazz Prince, who actually introduced me to Drake and introduced me a lot of people. I owe a lot of my relationships to Jazz, like big relationships. He's the one that actually found Drake. Jazz used to be in love with Jhene, and I gave him all the records I did with Jhene, and he loved the July record. He played it for Drake, and this is when Drake was just starting to buzz, and So Far Gone was dropping, and so Drake was becoming the biggest thing, just huge. And I still hadn't really heard of him like that. I wasn't really impressed like that. And he played the record with Drake. He told me Drake want to record it. I'm like, well, it's Jhené's record. I'm like, how we gonna do that? He like, man, just trust me. So ended up we ended up going in the studio with Drake and ended up doing 2 records. He ended up cutting his verses on. We took Jhené off the verses of July, and Drake did verses, and he sang the bridge that I wrote. And after those sessions, I still was like, yeah, he's dope, but like, I don't see what's the hype. Even he played So Far Gone for me, and I thought it was dope, but I was like, are you a singer? Are you a rapper? It was still kind of like, it was kind of crazy. You know what I mean? So I didn't see what everybody else would eventually end up seeing. Like, I just didn't see it. So what ended up happening was, after those sessions, me and Drake, we kept in contact. We would like, that was back when iChat was the thing. It's FaceTime now, but back then it was iChat. We would get on iChat and then BlackBerry Messenger, go back and forth with records and shit. Then So Far Gone started. It just went through the roof. It just did some shit that nobody could see coming. And the more and more I was listening to those songs, I was like, damn, I fuck with this shit. Like, heavy. Like, the ethereal sound, that wasn't really big. You know what I mean? And then that record, that whole album made that whole sound big, and I remember me and Drake kept, going back and forth. Simultaneously, I was working with Chris Brown. And so I went to Polo, and Chris would do these skate parties at Skateland. I don't know if you remember that time, but Chris and Polo had a skate party. Drake came to the skate party, and this is when he was Drake. You the Fucking Best was number 1. It was like, he just Drake. And so I seen him. He stopped me and was like, yo, he was like, congratulations. And I'm like, for what? What'd I do? He was like, we're going to put Beyonce on July, on the record July that we did. And he was like, we're going to put it out. It's going to be like on this movie soundtrack. And I'm like, yo, that's crazy. But I tried not to react too crazy, but I was like, yo, that's crazy. I was like, man, that's crazy, man. Let me know when everything is supposed to drop. Like, just keep me posted, man. He was like, for sure, man, we'll do. And a few months after that, man, those records that we did in the studio that day, including July, they all leaked. July actually got picked up by radio and was getting mad radio play. I actually saw like BMG checks from July, and it was never an officially accredited record. And I was so bummed about it, man, because that moment I felt like was going to really change my life. That was going to be my game changer, man. And that would have to be that would probably be like my second favorite record that I've done, just because of all of that, Most of my time is just spent tapping into who I really am. I'm turning down a lot of things, a lot of opportunities, a lot of things because shit just don't serve me right now. And so most of my time is spent tapping into my purpose and who I really am. So I don't have no structure really right now. And since the pandemic happened, it's just like, things are shut down. And so before I would move, I would go wherever the wind took me. I would go wherever the opportunity is. I always had somebody on my line, wanting something, needing something. And even in that, I'm like, nah, it's time to do for me. If you are an artist, find someone that you can build with, find someone that you can trust, find someone that you got a chemistry with, the things that can't be explained, you have that with, and stick with them until you can't no more. Until you burn the vibe out. If that ever happens, stick with that person. Don't just go off and go do something else because you think, oh, this is the sound now. This is the popular person now. So let me get one with this person so that I can have the popular sound. No, you create the waves that the people ride. I feel in today's day and age, the art of management is lost. And I don't believe that you need a manager. What's more important is partnership. You need someone on your team. You need a team, whether it's one person or 5 people. You need someone that does what you cannot do, what you shouldn't have to do, what you are not capable of doing. You need someone that picks up where you lack. Um, and I think in this day and age, um, it's not just in management. Like, I want to go into business with you. I want you to feel like you are just as much invested in this as I am. 50-50. We equal on this shit. I think in today's day and age, a lot of managers be wanting to be the stars. A lot of managers be wanting to be the ones in the forefront. And it's almost as if you work for them. And it's like, motherfucker, no. A lot of people just want to be the man. And for that reason, I say, okay, partnership is more effective than manager artist. I feel like, in my opinion, that day's done. I feel like, because if your title is just a manager, it's going to limit you to what you can do, in the sense of you just think that you are my day to day. You corral my life. You gather everything and give me structure in my life. You set up the meetings. You set up the sessions. You set up travel and all that shit. And it's like, yeah, but also too, like, nigga, come into this fucking studio and let me know what you think of this. How that sound? Okay, word. All right. While you're doing that, I'm coming up with a treatment for a video, or I'm coming up with, you know what I mean? I'm doing all the footwork outside of what it's going to take for that record to go, or whatever you're doing. I feel like partnership, team, that's more effective. Like, I don't like going in, say, we're doing a session for this person no more. I don't like doing that. We just create. So I don't do splits right then and there. You know what I mean? Because I don't know where it's going to go. And that's not even like, maybe I should, and I probably will. But I just, for me, I like a no stress, no pressure filled environment. And at the end of the day, I always am fair with everyone. I let my publisher deal with. That's what you have a publisher for. They got lawyers and shit. I got an attorney. I let them handle all of that, and they say what I need to say. You don't want to go getting into disputes with people, yourself, just because it's not good for your energy. Shit like that can really fuck up your day, and your creativity. And you just don't want to even like engage yourself in that. You want to make the guys that are supposed to be the bad guys be the bad guys. I think they can go about changing songwriters not receiving fees or points by giving them fees and points. I think we need to realize, like, I don't even know who came up with this formula. We talk about this shit all the time. Like, I don't know where it started, where only a producer gets a fee, but that sounds crazy to me, because nobody is buying your track. People are buying a song. It's not a song without me, the writer. And so for you as a producer to get a fee and me not get any of that, I feel like it should be 50-50. I feel like if I wrote the song, you produced the song, we should get equal fee. And because even a lot of these producers just send out tracks and they don't know what's being written to, or they don't even know what we got to do to their track to actually get it to be presentable. I'm in there, a lot of times I'm in there cutting up people's tracks and verses and hooks and making it sound the way I want it to sound. So I'm essentially a producer. So why am I not getting a fee? We can no longer just accept um, getting paid a year, 2 years down the road. For our time, I feel like if you want me to do a service for you, pay me. You're gonna pay the engineer, the studio's gonna get paid, the producer's gonna get paid. If the song gets played, he's gonna get his producer advance. You know, pay me for my time, or even a per diem. Even a per diem would work, or motherfuckers don't even offer you so much as lunch. It's the only business I know where you can come in and put in real hours and not receive anything for it. But a motherfucking engineer in the studio is gonna get their bread regardless. I'm like, motherfuckers want me to come, no disrespect to Puff and all them. I get caught, working on that. And I'm like, damn, nobody talking about compensation for time. And I'm like, you as a half billionaire or whatever you were, you really care about people, you really care about the culture like that. Nothing says you care more than putting something in our pockets, feeding us. You want all these people to work on a project for you that you're going to get the credit for. You don't think it would behoove you to give people something to actually really work for, get people excited about your shit? No, I don't want to be flown to wherever and stay in a nice hotel and work. I could work here and you just pay me. Get a little vibe together here and pay a nigga. If you would fly me out to wherever, just keep it here. Give me all that bread. But like, it's like actually it's people really out here like going hard for that shit. Like it's they shit. And I'm like, I love the legends. I appreciate everything they've done, but if we not talking about no kind of compensation, that ain't right. In my opinion, I think that songwriters should only consider an admin deal. Yeah, I don't believe in publishing deals anymore. Like I think it's crazy that somebody can offer you 5 or 6 figures and be entitled to 50% of everything you make from music, everything you write, everything you produce. I think it's robbery, man. I think that of course they play on your need. All publishing deals are really are loans. There are some good people within these publishing companies that believe in the people they sign and go hard for them to get placements and all of that. But I just think that the placement game is just like, it's too few and far between for you to be like, every time you get a placement, you gotta bust down 50% with someone. I would rather people just get with a company and do like an admin situation where you just basically hire them to track your money. Feel the same way about artists. Kind of, but well, to a point. I feel like if you've established yourself and you've built your following substantially, unless it's a situation like Nipsey did where they went into a partnership, it wasn't like, oh, bam, I went from independent to being signed to Atlantic Records. Like, nah, they did a for real partnership, and that was smart because the cars were in his hands because he did all the work, you know, and he used that machine to get bigger. That's a play, and that's a smart play. But like, I feel like I don't understand why some of these artists build their following and do all the work just to go and split it with a label. Because now, once you sign to a label, you know, a lot of times you don't have that creative control that you had, that creative freedom. You can't just put out anything you want. Unless that's in your deal, unless you structure your deal. Record contracts are a little different than publishing contracts in that way. Any contract is negotiable. You can ask for what you want, and it just depends on what they're going to give you. If it's, I would say, if it's unequivocally beneficial to you, where because there are benefits to having a big machine behind what you're doing. You don't, you know, you're essentially spending your money, but you're not spending your immediate, like, I don't got to dip into my actual bread to get what I need done. And they have a machine that they got a team of for everything. You know what I mean? And so the grind with a label is a lot easier, so to speak, than without a label. It's supposed to be. And so I wouldn't understand why somebody that's already established and did the work themselves would go sign with a label unless they get everything they want. And they can do whatever the fuck they want. They can put out songs whenever they want. You know what I mean? Other than that, like, why not just stay independent? Even then, though, man, like, staying independent, man, you get greater return once you get to that level. You know, it's so much more of a return, and you ain't got to split it with no conglomerate. You know what I mean? And you know, I feel like yeah, some of these artists, some of these rappers, they get offered bags, big bags, and you know, from that they go and, you know, flip other things, and I get all that, you know. But my initial response to that is, I would only get a record deal if it made absolute sense. If it was if it if it was in my favor, you know what I mean? And I mean, like, really in my favor. No fine print, no bullshit. You know what I mean? That's when I would do it. I'm pretty sure every songwriter, creative can tell you they wanted to quit multiple times. So I've heard some successful niggas say they quit every day. And, you know, you hear those stories, like we used to hear those stories. I never quit. I never gave. I just knew something. I knew it in me. Like, nah, nigga, you quit plenty of times, but quitting isn't a forever thing. It's not a forever thing. Like, I've quit plenty of times, and then I just came back and came back harder. Because if you truly love something, you can never quit it. You can never completely just cut it cold turkey and go to some other shit. That thing will call you and call you and call you. Yes, nigga, quit every day if you need to. But you go just as long as you come back, you're gonna come back. A lot of us need to reset. A lot of us need to revision. A lot of us need to revise our hustle. We need to revise our process. We need to revise the way we just do things in life. You know what I mean? That's just what life is about. Life is about stopping and starting over. It's a series of starting over. It's so many starting over, but you can't start over unless you quit. You know? So I be want to tell people like, man, shit, quit every day if you need to. As long as you come back to the shit, as long as you start over. And don't take that for, I'm telling you, quit, nigga, because you weak. Nah, this shit can be heavy. This shit can be draining. This shit can be emotionally, spiritually, mentally, physically taxing, you know? And I completely get if people want to quit. But the saddest thing to me, man, is a dream deferred, a motherfucker that just gave up because they never saw the light and they allowed darkness to rob them. I see people all the time, man. I've been in this thing long enough to where I've seen people literally go from shit to sugar. Literally go from nothing. Like one of my homies just recently, man, and I can't tell him enough how proud of him I am. My boy Los Hendricks, he's a guitar player. He used to just come fuck with me just off the strength. Like, we used to work. He used to put guitar on a lot of my shit. And good dude from New York. Always had that hustle in him. He used to drive around this beat up ass whip, but he always had a smile on his face. Always had the same kind of demeanor. He's a bigger dude, and so, but he just was just a fucking teddy bear, man. The coolest nigga you'll meet. He was grinding for a minute. He had been living out here, I think, for like 5 years or something. I think he had to move back for a second, came back, and then out of nowhere, he produced Good Days for SZA. I mean, it wasn't out of nowhere, but this was his one. And this is what I tell everybody. Like, I've seen it so many times. Nigga, you stay at this shit long enough, you're going to get your opportunity. You're going to get the shine. Your wave is coming. Your wave is going to come. And when it does, man, just be ready. Be prepared for that shit. And shit, to look up and see him produce the #2 record, about to be the #1 record in the country, I felt like, I wouldn't say a proud father, but I felt like, a proud family member. Like, damn, I watched my nigga. And it's only the beginning for him. But shit like that, a record like that is what we strive for in this shit. I know what it feels like to have #1s. I know what it feels like to have records that everybody loves and are singing and people calling you and telling you, this is my favorite shit, or I heard your song today, or nigga, what you was thinking when you did that? Like, there's no greater feeling than that in this shit to me, because that means that other creatives, people that I look up to, respect an output of mine. That's the highest form of flattery to me. So yeah, I said all that to say, like, shit, this shit can happen for anybody. You don't know how it's gonna happen. You don't know. You don't know when, but you gotta stay in the shit. You gotta stay in the game, make yourself available for that blessing. Shit, in a sense, I quit the end of last year. That whole fall, winter season, still going through a season of just like not even pressed on that end, and that's okay. You know what I mean? Like, you can't force anything, man. I've decided, I've chose, like I'm really getting back into like really cooking like that, like, but I just, you just gotta you gotta like pivot, you gotta modify how you, as you get older, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, you get different views, you get different energy, you know what I mean? You gotta adjust with that shit. And so in this season, there's been a whole lot of push-pull with God, because And I will say the number one thing to get you out of to keep you locked, to keep you in your season and keep going through the bullshit is social media. Because you'll see, it'll show you, it's like it knows what's going through your brain. It'll show you all the things that you think you're supposed to be doing, people doing what you think you're supposed to be doing. And it'll stop you in your tracks, in your path of self-care or going inward. And then you'll get back and think you need to start going back and doing the old shit you're doing. And it's like, no, you need to surrender so that you can be transformed and made new. Don't be scared. Don't think you're missing out on anything. God trying to do something in you and you messing up the process by keep going back and thinking you need to do the old things you were doing it the way that you were doing it. It's like, no, man, it's going to suck for a minute. But you're sacrificing for yourself. Man, I haven't done so much reading in my life. I ain't done so much getting out outdoors and trying new shit. I haven't done so much new shit in my life. I ain't done so much reflecting and having days where I'm not doing shit work related. And I think about it and I go, well, damn, I've been going nonstop for like 10 plus years. So this little season I'm going through, it's like 10 years of pressure, 10 years of going at it, 10 years of ups and downs and disappointments. And you look back and you don't really understand the toll that is taking on your body, your mind, your soul. So you got to do a lot of unlearning. You got to do a lot of ego death. You got to do a lot of just shedding layers, shedding bullshit. You know what I mean? Because I believe that this season, right now, 2020, 2021, everybody is going through a transformation in their own way. Nobody's exempt from this shit. I think all of this shit is ordained. The fucking pandemic, the shutdowns and all this shit, like shut down. It was all, God is like, nah, I'm about to slow everything down. I'm gonna slow everybody down. We all felt like at a point we were all on the same playing field because we all have nothing to do. Physically, we can't go meet with this person, meet with that person, be fake in front of that person, smiling at niggas' face. We can't go bullshit. We can't go party around people and shit. Not like we really want to with the freedom that we want to. Forced to go inward. Keep having the uncomfortable conversations, because you let people, it lets people know that they're not alone. It lets people know that they have allies, you know what I mean? That they can talk, there's a place where they can talk about their issues. I think that it definitely would just be a safer place if we're never going to stop people from doing drugs. We're never going to stop people from, committing predatory acts, or desiring that or wanting to do that. We're never going to stop women, from, some women do, use what they got to get what they want. Some women are victimized. We're never going to, I don't think we're ever going to stop any of that, but we can make it hard for people because we're all, as long as we're sinners, as long as we're human, all that shit's going to keep going on. You know what I mean? But if we're having these conversations and making people aware that we know what's going on, that, we ain't turning a blind eye no more, making people aware that it's okay to talk about your experiences and it's okay to get help. It's okay to, you know, blow the whistle on that shit. You know what I mean? This right here is the best thing we can do for people. They're going to make their own decisions, but this right here is influence. This right here is relational. You know what I mean? I'll let anybody know, man. Like, shit, you could DM me. You could, if you know me, you could text me, call me. You know, if you need anything, advice wise, or if you just want to talk about something that's going on, like, you know, I'm here. I'm here to be a soundboard, and I'm gonna continue to be an advocate for victims and be an advocate for uh, those that don't have a voice or feel they don't have a voice. You know, but that's my answer. Is I feel like this right here is the most effective thing we can do. One of my favorite things to tell people all the time, and you know, it's been said a lot of times, so it could be cliche, but it's so true, man. It's just run your race. I tell people, I just told somebody this recently online, and I had an interview with my boy Los, Jackie's boy. Um, there's so many things that I could give people for advice, but the one that always comes up is run your race. Run your race. Be yourself. Be unique. You know, don't compare yourself to other people. I always say, like, comparison is a thief. It'll rob you of the God-given gift that you have in you. Um, so many people suffer from that shit. So many people suffer from not being themselves or not feeling comfortable to be themselves. You know, and so many people. I mean, I've been a victim of it. When you look in the mirror, you don't see yourself. You see somebody else, and it's just like, no, there's already one of them. There's only one of you. You are one of one. And if I could tell you anything, man, it would just be what's for you is for you. And really, that's just what it is. You gotta monitor what protect your eyes, protect your heart, monitor what you allow in your personal atmosphere, because those things influence you. Like I was saying before, social media, that shit can be the devil, man, because it will show you all the things that it'll make you feel like you need to be that. You need to have that. You need to be doing that. You need to live there. You need to be wearing that. And it's just like, it's overload. It's overload. That's why we got, I feel like this social media has created more sheep than anything. Every time somebody do a challenge, everybody got to do the fucking challenge. You know, and it's just like, I get it. It's fun. It's but a lot of people just be wanting attention, man. They be wanting attention, and so they not creative enough to do their own thing. They got to do what somebody else is doing, and to me, that's the saddest thing. I think that's the saddest thing that could happen to anybody. It's just them never being themselves. Man, I could tell my 20-year-old self. I mean, I would start off by telling them, "You are that nigga. You don't fully believe it, and you don't fully like know your power, but you are that nigga. You need to step into that nigga, because you're looking around and you got so many people and at that age I had so many people around me, so many people, so many influences. I couldn't fully think for myself. Honestly, man, I couldn't fully think for myself up until like a couple years ago. I would tell them, think for yourself. You're unique. You're different. You're in this shit, but you're not of this shit. Everybody ain't your friend. Everybody ain't family. Everybody don't have your best interest. Probably the most important thing I would tell them is don't be afraid to fuck up. Time heals everything. Shit moves on. Ain't nobody that worried about you to where they thinking about that fuck up every time they see you, or they thinking about that fuck up. And if they are, it's a reflection of themselves. Yes, you fucked up. But the good thing about that is it's a great opportunity for you to learn. It's taking your fuck ups the wrong way. And the fuck ups are doing what they're supposed to do, is make you feel like you fucked up and live in your subconscious. Don't let that shit live in your subconscious. Recognize it, respect it for what it is, and let it go. Move on. All the greats had that ability to forget. They don't tell you how many shots Michael Jordan missed compared to how many he made. They don't tell you that. Everybody, all you see is the highlights, and you feel, and you are, stop being so surface. I'm like really like talking to my kid self. it's crazy, but yeah, I would definitely say, man, in a week, ain't nobody gonna remember that shit. So why the fuck do you still think about it? And if you forget it, they definitely gonna forget it. That's just a piece of, I would tell myself so much, but that's just a piece of it. Got this book right here. It's called The Language of Letting Go. And it basically, it's the undertitle is Daily Meditations on Codependency. But I like it because it'll give you a solid word for every day of your life. So it breaks it down into the days. So, for example, what's today? February 3rd? For February 3rd's topic is rejecting shame. And it's got this whole, some are longer than others, but it's got a whole page on rejecting shame. And then at the end of most of them, the author, she writes a prayer about what it talked about, and it's just really fucking awesome. I'm reading a few books right now, but this is definitely something that I read in the morning, and I like this so much that I went and got more language of letting go, and this is new daily meditations. It's like an extension of this first one, so yeah, I really like that. Other than that, I'm reading this T.S. Eliot book. I'm really like, a lot of people don't know I've been really into poetry. And T.S. Eliot is one of my favorite poets. Him, Robert Frost. Yeah, so I've been reading that. I know I'm just going down the list, but there's this other book right here for young people. Damn, you see it, or like young to mid people, like around our age. This is I Used to Have a Plan, and I love it because it's not like full pages of shit. It'll be a page with just, you see that? with just a sentence. It's just it's got like illustrations, and it's just basically she's like, this is basically for like people that are like lamenting and live with regret and can't let their can't let go of their past. And it's just a really awesome book, and it's just be like literally like one or two sentences with an illustration. um that it's called. And then the last book that the actual book that I'm reading right now, I just started, Jay-Z, Made in America, written by Michael Eric Dyson. And I always like Michael Eric Dyson. And for him to write a book on my favorite rapper of all time, like I've had this book for so long, but I just never got into it. And I'm getting into it now. For music creatives, a book that I swear by is The War of Art. It's a play on the art of war. He kind of flipped it. Stephen Pressfield, The War of Art. This shit, it takes you through the battlefield of creativity, and he breaks it down and through like Greek mythology, through fucking through all kind of things in time, just to show you how to deal with being creative. That shit is amazing.